Derbyites, the Emmy nominations have been announced. There are some people who are beside themselves with happiness. There are some people who are not happy at all. I am somewhere in the middle. But you know what? Before we even get into it, I need to introduce this cavalcade of stars in front of us. I just love them to pieces. We've got Charlie Bright, we've got Tony Ruiz, and we've got Pat Noble. And we are, of course, the A-Team. And we're here to talk about what we loved and what we didn't love about the Emmy nominations this morning. And I'll tell you what, I don't even know where to begin. So I just want to go straight to Charlie because all I can see is your beautiful blue hair. It's really just standing out to me. So Charlie, what did you think about the Emmys this year so far?
This is the least angry I've been at the nominations in quite a few years.
Really?
You know, yeah, I mean, and I will say, I think we have a lot. I liked how, first of all, like, it seemed like they were going for different programs or going into programs that may not be brand new, but they're reaching their hands deeper into programs of very, very, very good quality. You know, even when I look at like a category like comedy guest actress, and I see four women from Hacks in there, I look at each one of them and I'm like, yeah, they deserve to be there. You know, I'm over the moon about you know, I'm kicking myself about comedy guest actor. I only predicted the only one I got right was Nathan Lane. But when I actually look at that lineup, I'm like, you know what? That's a great lineup. And I love that Sam Richardson's an Emmy nominee now. I'm really over the moon about a lot of this. I'm surprised about certain things and some things but I said least angry. There is some cause, you know, pour one out for how Peacemaker did not get nominated for main title design, which I know sounds like a petty thing, but come on, this is me we're talking about. Come on, that's a gimme. That main title design and the choreography for it are brilliant, and the fact that it wasn't recognized either is really a shame.
Okay, we've got so much to unpack there, but Matt, tell me, what did you think about the Emmy nominations?
It's similar to Charlie. I was like very pleased generally. Like there's some things that there's some gripes I have and complaints I have, but at the end of the day, like the categories I care most about are best drama series and best comedy series. And when I look at both those lineups, they each have 8 shows that are very different from each other and are great pieces of television. Some more my cup of tea than others, but there's none that I can sort of grab and go, oh, that really shouldn't be there. That doesn't belong there. I think like this could be like the most packed drama series race of quality we've had in a very, very, very long time. So, and the comedy series is a great lineup too. So we can get to specific snubs and inclusions and things that I think are wild, but drama and comedy series, 16 great pieces of television, all made it in, and just quickly so stoked that Ray Seahorn finally got a nomination for Better Call Saul. That's so cool.
Like, there is a God if Ray Seahorn finally makes it in. I mean, I was very worried about that. Tony, I think you're more on my page, but I want to hear what you have to think firstly, just generally about the nominations.
I'm not going to be a total gloomy Gus, even though I found myself more, as the day went on, I got more angry. But I'll start off with some good things. I think what Matt said is absolutely right. And I'm going to even go even farther and say that while I believe there are frontrunners in many categories, I really don't believe that there are any locks by any stretch of the imagination. And I like that. I like that we're most likely going to avoid a crown situation like we had last year where one show is going to take everything. I don't think that's going to happen. My anger is more directed towards the limited series races, which not to take anything away from those nominees, but the voting just seems so lazy. There is absolutely no reason why in a category of, how many nominees are there in the supporting categories? 7, 8?
7 for I believe for both.
Okay, there's no reason why the one show should take up all of it. It reminds me. Our editor Daniel Montgomery reminded me back when the soap operas used to do block voting, where basically, networks would basically just vote for their stuff, and it just seems to me that, like, really, those were the only performances from just that one show. There are so many egregious things to me. The omission of Yellowstone, the most popular show on television, and it's not a procedural, it's not a network procedural, it's an actual, if it were not on Paramount Plus, if it was on HBO, it would probably, it's like Succession, only with horses and hats. So especially after it got in at PGA and SAG, why did that not get in? Sarah Goldberg from Barry, the one kind of leading lady on that show who gives, in my opinion, the performance of the year in any genre. She gets snubbed. I don't get that at all. So we'll get into more details later, but, it just seems to me that, in a lot of these races, it seems to me like there's kind of some, like, I like this show, I'm going to vote for everything for this show.
Yeah. And I don't like that because, but they're deserving. So I'm in two minds because they're deserving of nominations, but I feel like it's like the Emmys, their radar wasn't as wide as maybe it could have been, given so much content at the moment, and it's all so wonderful. That being said, I do hear what you're saying, Charles and Matt, particularly thinking there are 16 series nominated in drama and comedy, and they're all really, really good and a nice cross-section of what is the best on TV. So I totally agree with you there. That's really great. But I feel like when I finally caught up with the nominations, they're announced at like 2 a.m. for us, for Matt and I decided to just like rest up, get up in the morning and check them out a little later. I just felt really disappointed. Like Yellowstone, popular TV show, SAG and PGA nod, not nominated. This Is Us, really strong final season. I finished it last night. I was crying the whole time. I went to bed in tears. Pachinko, Peacemaker, Evil, The Good Fight, The Dr. Death, Outlander. I know Outlander's never done well. Tehran. There are a lot of really excellent shows that they're just never going to get anything with the Emmys because the Emmy voters just don't seem to have a wide enough scope. They don't watch everything. They're all very busy. So I guess that's the issue. So they just name check. That's frustrating. But let's delve a little deeper because I feel like let's talk about limited series first, because that's where I felt a little disappointed. 5 nominations is not enough. They need to expand that category because that's where all the best stuff is at the moment, really. And so the nominees are Dope Sick, The Dropout, Inventing Anna, Pam and Tommy, and The White Lotus. I think Inventing Anna and Pam and Tommy were surprises. Wasn't expecting to see them there. White Lotus, they're obviously just really overperformed this year, and good on them. I thought that was one of the best things ever for the season. I'm just so gutted that Station 11 didn't make it in, particularly given that it did quite well across the board elsewhere. And it's probably my number one gripe of the whole year is that Station 11 didn't make it in that category. So I'd like to hear what you guys think about limited or anthology series. Who would like to regale us with your thoughts first?
I get who?
You.
Yeah, me. Great. Look, I'm a bit annoyed I took Inventing Anna out of my predictions in the past week or two, just because it was a limited series I knew, like, people not in the Emmy but just in my life had said they'd watch. So I thought, oh, maybe it's got a bit more exposure than some of the other shows. That, weren't you, Matt? Yeah, and then I took it out because no one else was predicting it. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm missing something that everyone else, like maybe, So I wasn't surprised when I saw that one make it in. I think Made missing out was one of the big snubs of the awards, and that was just sort of so surprising and disappointing. Yeah, and I'll just a quick shout out. I know we don't talk usually as much about the movie category, but so happy to see Chippendale Rescue Rangers make it. I know, yeah, Charlie's happy too. Like
that was
cool.
great. I love that. If I could just build on top of that,
Yeah,
Matt,
please.
I love that in the TV movie category, we do have some like out of the box things that you might say are very niche, but I like that at least, they're getting their moment. They're getting a moment here. And who knows, they could win. I mean, last year, I don't think any of us were thinking that the Dolly Parton Christmas special was going to win the TV movie category. So, I mean, I think, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Zoe's Extraordinary Christmas, or fingers crossed, Reno 911, The Hunt for QAnon, could possibly be winners in this.
And while the White Lotus did so well with those supporting actor nominations, and I love that show. I think it's one of the best things of the year. I agree with you, Rob. But that even overperformed what I would have expected, and it's a shame some other shows missed out. But it's hard to fault any of those individual performances, and it's sort of Euphoria did so well with nominations. It's hard to know whether Sydney Sweeney got in on the strength of Euphoria and her also being in that, or the strength of the White Lotus and that doing so well, or maybe it was the strength of both.
Yeah. What about you, Charlie? What did you think about limited series?
I thought, I was very shocked, because I think Dope Sick and White Lotus were pretty much gimmies, and other ones felt like gimmies. Like Maid felt like it should have been very simple. But I will say, the fact that Pam and Tommy actually got in, which is something I thought its best hope was for Lily James, maybe Sebastian Stan, but the fact that it got into the actual limited series category, I think is fantastic. And I'm over the moon about that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine, and I'm happy to see it here. Good on them. But I'm with you. I'm very surprised that it made it in, as well as Inventing Anna. That didn't get very good reviews, but it was very popular. And when Matt was talking about that a few weeks ago, we had our other chat. It made me think, that's a sleeper hit. But I just thought it was too competitive for it to make it through. What about you, Tony? Were you shocked?
I was. It's funny. I think all of us have been around long enough that we remember, at the Academy Awards, when there's always that one, especially back when there was only 5 nominees, there was always one that was like, really, that? And then there's always the think pieces about that is the worst rated, critically acclaimed, the worst critically rated thing that's in the Oscars this year. And you look at this list of limited series, and I think you're right. The fact that it's at 5 is insane. I don't know what the Emmys are thinking with that. But I mean, I looked this up right before we came on. I mean, Inventing Anna was, in the mid 60s, I think, on Metacritic. I think The Dropout might have been pretty low. The only two that The White Lotus was the most acclaimed. It's stunning to me the things that get left out. The things that get nominated other places. Like, for example, you get Toni Collette and Colin Firth in The Staircase, but that doesn't make it for limited series. You have Margaret Qualley and you have Maid getting in. I think it got in for directing too, but it doesn't get a limited series. And that thing, Maid, for a while, I was thinking was a real contender to win. And the things that get left out are just kind of shocking to me. The other one that I think, and I'm going to bang this drum as loud as I can, is 1883, which was the best thing I saw this year. I was not a particular fan of The White Lotus outside of Jennifer Coolidge, but to get that kind of reception, while other things that had equal acclaim just got completely shut out. So it's so confusing to me.
Yeah, it's the overwhelming.
And The Dropout gets 2 directing nods.
Yeah. The Dropout was fine as well, but come on, really, so many shows overperformed and some were just blanked. And that's what we're, I think, feeling a bit off about. Like 1883 for sure. Dr. Death, I thought should have gotten something. Impeachment got a little bit, Sarah Paulson and so forth, but it didn't really do as well as I thought it would. Made, you're totally right, guys. Made, come on, we thought that was a gimme. Moon Knight, I was hoping, I think I got 8 nominations across the board, which is fantastic. The Offer got nothing, which really surprised me, because that's very popular. People really responded to that. I know the critics didn't.
Scenes from a Marriage, Oscar Isaac gets in for that, but recent Oscar winner Jessica Chastain doesn't.
Yeah.
Insane. And you're right about The Staircase. Most people were thinking The Staircase would make it in. Colin and Tony did, obviously. I'm very happy for Toni Collette, because I thought that was a 50-50, because she was sometimes not as leading as maybe people thought she should have been. But if you get through that whole series, I only finished that last week. My goodness, she is phenomenal in that. So I'm really happy for that too. So yeah, look, I hear what you guys are saying. When we're looking at the acting categories, there's nothing that really stands out in the limited movie field, really. Andrew Garfield made it in, but Under the Banner of Heaven didn't really do well elsewhere. And yeah, and in terms of the supporting, it's just White Lotus. There are 5 White Lotus women versus 2 Dope Six. And then in the men's, there's 3 White Lotuses, 3 Dope Six, and 1 Pam and Tommy. Like, really? Come on. There's so much that they've missed out on there.
And how does Station 11 get writing, directing, acting, bunch of crafts, and not get limited series? It makes no sense.
Yeah, and to me, that was an absolute masterpiece. It was the best thing on TV. Who cares what I think? I'm just saying, like, I thought at least it would. I just thought at least it would make it into limited series. I am gutted about that. And Himesh Patel, beautiful surprise. When I saw that happen, I thought, oh, well, okay, Station 11 is going to do really well, but it just didn't, it fizzled out. Some of those acting categories were just taken over by the White Lotus. And you know what? When I watched the White Lotus months ago, I thought that was phenomenal. And I'm so happy for like Alexandra Daddario and, Sydney Sweeney, Natasha Rothwell. I mean, good on them. And Jake Lacey, he's been working for such a long time, never been nominated for anything. He's in there now, Steve Zahn. So good, but just disappointing as well. What do you think, Charlie? Like, do you have that kind of mixed emotions about the limited acting categories?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do, but I think part of this is also clouded by the fact that I have not watched The White Lotus. So
Charlie.
I know, I'll take the public shaming, but I didn't. So it's the reaction on that level. It doesn't hit me on that level, but definitely, once the fog of the immediate reactions to the nominations cleared, and I was looking at movie limited supporting actress, and I was like, wait, only 2 shows are represented here. That's pushing it a bit, and I think this is a testament to the current voting system that they have right now, where you can just check off you just check off as many as you want, and then they just tally it. And I think for so many people, because from what I understand, White Lotus is a very ensemble natured show. So you just had people just checking off all these people from the White Lotus going, oh yeah, I thought they were really good. I thought they were really good. And so I just think that's a natural thing. I don't think we've ever seen it to this extent before.
I think the closest you can come to something like this, that I've, at least in terms of acting, I think there was one year where I think all the supporting actor drama nominees were from Hill Street Blues. I think one year there was NYPD Blue for all the writing categories, but that's a rarity.
It's really tough. It's hard
to see it in so many categories, I think, is what bothers me.
I love it to death. I hope it wins a bunch of trophies, but I still find it galling that so many other people miss out. And I thought Matthew Good from The Offer was an absolute certainty that he'd be nominated and could have even won. And people like Juliette Binoche in The Staircase, I thought was a real good possibility. And Danielle Deadweiler in Station 11, and Anika Noni Rose, Annie McDowell in Maid. Like, come on, what about them? I don't know. I just find it really hard to swallow. Anyway, we got to move on. Before we move on to the two big fields, let's quickly go over variety and reality. So it's pretty cool that the variety talk category was expanded to 5 because we get a new contender in the mix. Matt, what did you think about the variety talk category?
Yeah, I thought it's a pretty predictable lineup. But mostly with Seth Meyers joining the sort of stalwarts of the category, and I think he does such a great job on that show. It's great to see him fight. I was surprised. I read this morning that it's his first nomination. In my head, I sort of had that he'd already been nominated a couple of years ago or something. So that was just lovely. I think he's been in the writing category before,
Yeah.
but not the series. So cool, so exciting. I think they're all very good talk shows, but at the same time, it was a little bit like, yeah, sort of was expecting. Conan missed out, and sort of in hindsight, I'm a little bit like, yeah, we should have probably seen that coming because it was so long ago and didn't really sort of last year sort of felt like Conan's sort of farewell at the Emmys. So yeah.
Charlie, did you have any thoughts on variety talk? I mean, even all the other variety categories, some of them are great. They're really strong.
I'm really happy that Late Night with Seth Meyers finally broke into the talk series category. And other than that, I mean, I don't have a gripe with any of these nominees. It would have been cool to see something a bit more out of left field, like a Deezus and Miro get in. But you take what you get. You take what you can get.
Yeah, and Tony, any thoughts on those?
I'm just Seth Meyers is my favorite. I'm an old person, so I go to bed at 8:30 at night. So late night is not really a thing for me. But of the ones that I actually check in with regularly, his is my favorite. And I actually think that the narrative of, hey, Seth Meyers is in this category, this is cool, might help him.
Yeah,
no,
anyway, but I agree. I generally sometimes tape some of these. Like, these are pretty much all shows that I watch apart from Jimmy Kimmel that doesn't air in Australia. And like Stephen Colbert, I'm a Stephen Colbert guy, but I mean, like, they're all really good, and I'm very happy. I mean, the category is not very exciting, but it's good to see Seth Meyers. Variety sketch, I just feel like, why do we have to have a category with just 2 nominees just for that? Like, I just think combine them, please, because it's just Saturday Night Live just gets an automatic Emmy. I don't think a Black Lady sketch show is ever going to beat SNL. That's what I think. I just think, like,
you're right.
Why are we doing this?
Watch it win now, Rob. Watch it win now. You said that. Yeah,
particularly how badly my predictions went. I'm sure every time I say something now, it's going to be the opposite, because I've obviously got no idea.
But talking about sketch, it is weird because like a couple of years ago, we were really in a real peak for sketch shows, and it really did warrant that extra category when we had Portlandia and Key and Peele and Inside Amy Schumer and
Drunk History and
Documentary Now. It was just like in some years, which is like some years that was a better lineup of nominees than the talk category. So like it is interesting how we've so quickly gone to such a, and not to take anything away from the eligible shows in that field, there's some great work being done there, but it's a much smaller list. And you had SNL losing to Key and Peele and to Amy Schumer back then, and I think it's a shame that Portlandia wasn't able to beat it as well. So it is interesting. They'll get rid of the category, and then there'll be all these great sketch shows a few years later.
True. In Variety Special Live, I was surprised to see the Oscars, because I mean, let's just put it out there, like, that was a bit of a shit show. Sorry to say.
Lazy voting. Voting.
It's total lazy voting.
Because the Grammys were good, live in front of a studio audience, amazing. Halftime Super Bowl show, great. Tony Awards presents Broadway's Back was phenomenal. And then in the pre-recorded, Adele, Dave Chappelle, probably a bit controversial, but here he is. Harry Potter anniversary, Norm Macdonald, so good to see that special there. And One Last Time in the Evening with Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga. Those 2 categories are killer. apart from the Oscars, no disrespect to all the hard work that went into putting on the Oscars, it wasn't one of the best Oscars ever. And apart from the Oscars, I thought those nominees were sensational. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. And then of course in nonfiction competition and all the reality stuff, a lot of it was pretty much what we were expecting, but interesting to see Lizzo. Yeah, I did not think that would happen, and here she
I
is.
did.
I put it in my predictions last night, guys. So
Did you?
there you go.
I've never seen it. I'm going to catch it today because it looks really good. I'm going to watch it. I don't know if anyone could beat RuPaul in the top in those two categories, though. I just think that RuPaul's got this in the bag as usual. Although maybe there might be a case for the Queer Eye hosts in the host category. Who knows? But Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman are nominees, so that's cool. Always a plus to see them there. So look, I think, does anyone have anything to say about reality and variety before we move on to the big ones? No. Okay.
Shame Survivor missed out. It's
what
I say
know.
every
What
year.
do they have to do?
Survivor's it's been so consistent for so long, but it was expected.
Yeah, that sucks, actually. Good point. Now, let's talk about comedy because, God, there are so many good comedies at the moment. So the nominees are Abbott Elementary. Thank you, by the way, everybody, for raising that last time because I had a blind spot for that show. I had not predicted it anywhere. Then I watched the whole thing. I binged it and thought it was sensational, so funny, so great. So yay. Barry, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Hacks, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Only Murders in the Building, Ted Lasso, What We Do in the Shadows. So pretty strong. Yes, there was a few things that missed out, like, for example, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Cobra Kai, Peacemaker, Afterlife, Dave, Our Flag Means Death. So there was a little bit in there that missed out, but I think, Matt, you're right. That's a really strong group of comedy series. So I'm assuming that you're pretty happy with what you see there.
Yeah, and on a predictions level too, because I predicted all 8 of them. So I got so there you go. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's funny, they go through the alphabet sort of thing, and I go, boy, was we doing the Shadows is last? I think we might get there. But I also like all those shows, so that's good as well. Yeah, pretty pleased. I think we have the Gold Derby Awards the day before, and Taika Waititi was the big winner there, picking up he had his 3 shows he produces. What We Do in the Shadows, Our Flag Means Death, and Reservation Dogs all make comedy series, but we just have one of those 3 make it in here. And I think What We Do in the Shadows is such a great show, so I think it's deserving. And if I had to pick one of those 3, that's as good as any. But I was a bit disappointed to see Our Flag Means Death miss out on not just comedy series, but didn't get a single nomination. And particularly for a show that production-wise is so great. They built a whole pirate ship and stuff like that. So I think it's disappointing that couldn't get in anywhere. And Rhys Darby's such a good lead actor as well in that. So so a bit disappointed about that one, missing out on everything. And the After Party and Ben Schwartz in particular missing out, I think was a shame. But I think Only Murders in the Building sort of had murder mystery comedy on lockdown. So, I guess that sort of overshadowed the After Party. But other than that, great shows. I'm glad Curb is back. I think it's been so consistent for 10 seasons, 10, 11 seasons, 20 years. It's been on the air. And I think, people could easily forget about it as a show, and it's not getting as many nominations as it used to, but I'm glad it's in that top lineup. Yeah.
I wasn't predicting it because we talked about this last time. I really thought The Great would finally do it. It did quite well, but didn't quite make it here. But I'm happy when they showed that little clip this morning for Curb. I laughed out loud, and I realized, of course, that show is dynamite. Charlie, I see that you're pretty happy with this list as well.
I love it. It's great. I finally watched Only Murders in the Building. Which I absolutely enjoyed, and I think this is a great lineup. Yep. I have nothing to gripe about.
Yeah, and
Which is really something, because I usually am able to find something.
You're a real griper. I know.
Like a senior at a town hall meeting.
Tony, what about you?
Well, there was, it's funny. There was a time where comedy series was kind of like you had a couple of heavy hitters, and then it was like, what else was going to fill those slots? And we're not having that right now. I actually think that this is a really, really competitive category. I don't think, there's already people talking about, oh, Ted Lasso is going to steamroll. I don't think so. This is not. I think you've got several contenders. And I just want, for me personally, Barry was my number one series of the year. I think that the episodes this season are a complete work of art. So to see Barry get in as many places as it did, I'm personally rooting for Bill Hader in directing, because I think the freeway chase in 710 North is not only one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, it's also one of the unintentionally hysterical things I've ever seen. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch that scene from beginning to end. Oh my God. I just think it's a great group. And I think that you can make a really good case for a lot of these. Again, my only complaint is the lack of Sarah Goldberg in supporting.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that there's a broadcast show.
Yeah, it's nice.
Back in here,
it's really nice. And in fact, I think that's one of the shows that could maybe win.
I do too.
I know we're not doing winners, but I don't know what to think about comedy series. I'm going to need some time, because I'm going to need Riley to do his magic with all the stats or whatever, because I don't know what to think there. That's Ted Lasso is not steamrolling through that at all. If it does, I'll be super happy, but I'm just saying, and I think you're right. So
I would say something to keep note on there, Rob, though, is how well Ted Lasso did with supporting acting nominations.
Oh, absolutely, which we will definitely talk about in a second. That's a good point. Especially, there was a little surprise in there that I was like, whoa. Okay, so in the acting categories, we've got, in the lead acting, Rachel Brosnahan, Quinta Brunson, Kaylee Cuoco, Elle Fanning, Issa Rae, Jean Smart, amazing. And then Donald Glover, Bill Hader, Nicholas Hoult, Steve Martin, Martin Short, Jason Sudeikis. I think people who missed out that I guess we're all probably sad about, particularly John Cena, Peacemaker, and
John Cena.
And I was really disappointed for Drew Tarver. I know he had no shot, but I think he's so good in the other two. And Pamela Adlon in Better Things got completely snubbed this time, which sucks, because Tony put me onto that and think that she's a genius. And I don't know, that's pretty. I think the acting categories, the lead acting, are pretty damn good. I was happy for Issa Rae to make it through. I didn't think that was going to happen. Does anyone have anything in particular that they want to raise about the lead acting categories before we move on to the supporting ones?
Well, I don't know whether to say this in the drama category or the comedy category, but I'll say it here. Only Murders in the Building, the second most nominated comedy, I think, tie of hacks. Severance, I believe, is up there in the drama series nominees too, behind Succession. And you've got a woman in each of those shows, Britt Lauer and Selena Gomez, who really go toe-to-toe with the guys in that series. And the shows have both done very well with acting nominations. And for both of them to miss out, I think is disappointing. I think Selena Gomez, I had no expectations for her going into Only Murders in the Building, and she brings a different energy than Steve Martin, Martin Short, but it just bounces off them and works with them perfectly in a way I would have never imagined. I think in Severance, Britt Lauer, those four in the room are so powerful, all four of them. She arguably has, the best performance on the show. I think some others are in contention for that. I don't think it's a clear-cut thing. And to see them both snubbed is just like, what are these shows that are doing so well everywhere, and then their lead actress misses out?
I think you're absolutely right. I think in both of those cases, I think those shows don't work without those two
100%.
performances. I don't think
100%.
Only Murders works without Selena Gomez. It's the thing that it would still be a good show, but you're right. That energy that she brings is so perfect, and creates the tone of the whole show. And Britt Lauer, who frankly I had never heard of before I started watching Severance,
Yeah, that's same.
and just destroyed me in that show. So yeah, I completely agree.
And it's not completely, like you guys also said earlier, Sarah Goldster missing out for Barry, the sort of female in that show. That's supporting, so she plays a bit of a different role in the whole bit, but it's not too dissimilar as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And like I was kind of hoping for Rose Byrne in Physical. Obviously, that show didn't make an impact with Emmy voters, but there's a lot of really great female performances that have just kind of been overlooked this year. So excuse my puppy for barking. So when it comes to supporting, I think, we got some of the usual suspects, but then we get like Janelle James from Abbott Elementary, my favorite character in that show, and Cheryl Lee Ralph, amazing. Juno Temple, Hannah Waddingham, Hannah Einbinder, Alex Borstein, Kate McKinnon, and then Sarah Niles. I didn't see that coming, and I think she's great, but Charlie, like, thoughts?
What's interesting about this is I was saying that I thought that Hannah Waddingham should have gone lead so that they could have made room for Sarah Niles. And here they ended up nominating all three of them.
Yeah, no.
So, but I think she was a wonderful addition to that second season, and really just gelled so well with that cast. She was so good. And so I'm over the moon to see her in there. And a long time, someone like a longtime character actress like Cheryl Lee Ralph get in finally. And yeah, Janelle James, total scene stealer.
She's so funny. Yeah, and Tony, what about you? What did you think?
I a little, only slightly irritated by the dominance of one show, but the thing is, I can't really argue with any of them. I guess if I had I think the thing that made me the happiest was Anthony Carrigan, who, as NoHo Hank in Barry, is unexpectedly, for a Russian mobster, the heart of that show. His storyline this season, Chechens, forgive me, thank you, for his storyline this season with Cristobal was just so sweet. When you find the heart of the show in a Chechen mobster, I mean, come on. He's so perfect. I think it was really, really interesting. I love that Bowen Yang is in here. I love that he made it in. And I almost thought for a second that Henry Winkler wasn't going to get in, but because it's his performance, especially in the last episode of the season, is, oh my God, jaw on the floor. So I have no complaints with this.
Yeah, it's a good group. Brett Goldstein, Tahib Jimo, Nick Mohammed, Tony Shalhoub, Tyler James Williams. So cool to see him. I remember when he was just a kid in Area HPS. Yeah, I think Anthony Carrigan as well. I agree with you. He's just so brilliant in that show. And I was just so happy to see Tahib Jimo, because I remember when I finished watching Ted Lasso season 2, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to nominate him for my own personal awards, and I bet you the Emmys will just not even think about him, because he's not like one of the big names on the show. And this is where they do the right thing, and they actually vote for someone who was bloody good, really, really good in season 2, especially his storyline with Hannah Waddingham. So that's a great category. I'm very impressed with that. So
I will say I'm a bit disappointed that Brendan Hunt didn't make it back in Lasso, because he had that great bottle episode.
That great episode.
Yeah.
Which was so good. So good. I mean, we know the episodes don't matter as much anymore, but I mean, that was so great.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me that he missed out. But I know Tony has said he on Facebook he's professional, doesn't take credit for the interviews, people getting nominated. my interviews definitely are the sole reason people get nominated, and I did speak with Toheeb and Sarah Niles, so there you go.
It was
The
you.
surprises. I did also speak with Brendan Hunt, so I
So it was you in both instances. You screwed one of them and you helped the other.
the kiss of death. And the
It was
kiss
Welcome
of
to
life.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
Welcome
Yeah.
to Hollywood.
Somebody
people.
gets screwed and somebody gets an Emmy.
Yeah.
So
But no,
we're
yeah.
going to move on to drama now.
Oh,
Oh,
one more
yeah.
thing. One
yeah.
more thing. I just wanted to just a shout out. Bill Hader getting 4 nominations, and
Yeah.
actually, what will end up probably being 5 because he's also an executive producer, so he'll be in the series category.
That's amazing.
So that's amazing.
So happy for him. Like, what a talent. Okay, in the drama series lineup, the top 8 shows: Better Call Saul, Euphoria, Ozark, Severance, Squid Game, Stranger Things, Succession, Yellow Jackets. Can't complain with that. What an amazing group of shows. However, we should have more spaces because there are so many shows that missed out, like Evil and Loki and Pachinko and This Is Us and Yellowstone and Foundation, The Good Fight, The Morning Show, Outer Range, Ozark. No, Ozark's there. So yeah, that's what hurts me. But Matt, you're right. That is an incredible group of shows, isn't it?
Does that annoy you a bit, Rob? Like that, because there are some of your favorites that missed out. Do you want to be angry at one of the nominees? Like you can't.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Channel
But I won't tell you which one.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I love all of those. Like, I took Euphoria out, and I hate when people talk about their predictions, so boring. But I'm just trying to explain. Like, I didn't know where to put This Is Us because I really believe the Academy. They've always loved the show, and I thought they would give it something to say goodbye to it. I know they're not very sentimental, but I really thought it was a strong season. So I took Euphoria out, thinking it would probably do okay, but it won't break through like it really did, and I'm happy for it because that show was phenomenal. And I put in This Is Us instead, and I also thought Yellow Jackets might not have made it in, and the other Yellow show would have instead. So I am thrilled though, because I mean, I'm really happy for Showtime. They've got a really good show now back in the game in the drama categories, and Squid Game, Stranger Things, like those 2 shows were such pop culture phenomenons. I'm so happy for them too. What an incredible group. And Severance, probably the best show of the year for me. So I can't complain. But have you got any complaints? Because I know you love Better Call Saul and so many of these shows. So what did you want to see in there, Matt?
The shows the best dramas of the year are all there for me. And then there's a few that I won't name them right here, but there's a few that I think are maybe slightly overrated, but still great shows. So yeah, no complaints, and there's no favorite of mine that, like, unlike you, the ones I was hoping would get in all got in there.
What about you, Tony?
I don't have any complaints about this. My complaints are more for or some of the omissions in, say, like writing and directing. But overall, I'm with you on Severance. Severance is my favorite of this group. But I think they're all incredibly worthy. So I really have no complaints. I was actually surprised that Euphoria got in, because that show is so dark and that show is so tough. It's not an easy show to get through. And I really didn't think it would do as well as it did. My only complaint is that it didn't bring along Eric Dane, who I think had one of the great monologues of the year. It's one of those monologues that I think will be like used in like drama schools going into the future.
That the monologue and the episode, was the episode before where he goes to the bar and
you're talking about the flashback and with the flashback? I think that was after. Was it after? Or was it before?
It was. He's just phenomenal. I can't believe he didn't make it in. But we'll talk about the actors in a second. Before we move on to Charlie, though, how can we explain the Yellowstone thing? Because it's never been popular with the Academy. We thought it would finally break through.
They don't have Paramount Plus.
But it's on Paramount Network.
It's not on Paramount Plus. It's on
not on Paramount Plus?
Yeah.
Then they don't have the Paramount Network. No, but there is can we explain the blind spot? Like, they don't watch Stars. They don't watch Paramount Network. They don't watch Epics. There are some networks where they just don't see it. The CW, not interested. Why? It's always been the case.
Yeah,
Stars
I'll
and
watch
Emmys
other-
are pay cables, so they're a bit different in terms of access. And because they're not as high profile, they're probably not going to be as sought after.
Has to be. But then you would think with Yellowstone, it would have been the exception because it's just undeniably the biggest show in the world. And that SAG nomination and PGA, I was like, well, this is its chance. And it got one nomination last year. And I thought, okay, I had it predicted across the board. Like Kelly Riley, Kevin Costner, best drama, best writing. It got nothing, not even cinematography, not even music, like nothing.
Yeah, there's no good explanation for it other than, I think this is just a theory. You can at me if you want to. I'm not on social media, so. But I just think that there's this perception that, oh, it's a Western, therefore it must be like a conservative sort of show. I think there's kind of this kind of snob factor involved in it, when if you actually watch the damn show, and apparently Emmy voters are the only ones on the planet who aren't watching it.
Yeah, exactly. It's anything but.
It makes no sense because literally, I was joking earlier, but literally it is Succession on a ranch.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not stretching here. That's exactly what it is. You could swap the casts and it'd be the same show.
And Taylor Sheridan, he's so prolific and has so many shows on TV right now, and he's so talented, and he still comes up short, and it drives me mental. I'm very disappointed about Yellowstone. I still can't quite believe it, but we do have to move on, I guess. Let's talk. Charlie, I don't think I asked you what you thought about the top 8, because
My
I know
opinion
you're.
doesn't matter. Let's keep going.
Okay. So, lead actor and actress. These are the nominees: Jodie Comer, Laura Linney, Melanie Linsky, Sandra Oh, Reese Witherspoon, Zendaya. Then we've got Jason Bateman, Brian Cox, Lee Jung Jae, Bob Odenkirk, Adam Scott, Jeremy Strong. Really, really strong, no pun intended, group of actors. I will mention people like Tom Hiddleston, Milo Ventimiglia, Mike Coulter, Chiwetel Ejiofor,
Erlang.
Yes, Lee Min Ho, Jin Ha, Kevin Costner. Like, there's a few people who missed out there, and perhaps maybe on the female side, Britt Lauer, as we've mentioned, Katya Herbers, Mandy Moore. Really tough for me. I just cannot believe that. Kelly Riley, Christine Baranski. Again, I don't know what Christine Baranski can do to get a nomination these days. It just reminded me that the Gilded Age got nothing. So there we go.
Gilded Age didn't even get like costumes or production design.
Nothing. And it's on HBO, isn't it?
Right.
Max or whatever.
Not enough guild.
Yeah.
More gilding
right.
next year on the
And the
costumes.
person that gave us Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense. It just means some things break through and some things don't. But I will say, on the actress side, I was surprised with Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer. I just did not think Eve was a factor anymore. But they're holding on. And okay, congratulations, I suppose. Melanie Linsky, really good. Is she the only Yellow Jackets?
Christina Ricci got in supporting.
Right. Okay, good. So we'll go there in a second. And then, of course, on the male side, thank God Bob Odenkirk made it in, because I didn't have him in there because of the snub in the past.
Bob's back.
He's back, baby. Tell me more, Matt. What did you think of these two categories?
Both of them are good lineups. Lead actor. I love that lead actor lineup. I think these are fun. I got them all right as well. I took Kevin Costner out last night.
I did the opposite.
I took him out to put in Adam Scott because I just did not see them leaving Adam Scott off that list. But you know what? And that lead actor category, I actually could see a path to any of them winning.
Same.
I actually think it could go in any direction. I'd actually partly would argue that maybe Bob Odenkirk's in the sort of weakest position at the moment. Yeah. But the Better Call Saul final episodes are airing as voting
Yeah.
is happening. So
Yeah.
that actually will give him an edge. So I think, like, you know, him who might, you know, if they were voting for winners when they were voting for nominations, he probably wouldn't have had much of a chance. I think his chance goes up. So I actually think all 5 of them, like, I could make a case, and I'm sure I will at some point over the next couple of weeks, as to why any of these 5 guys could win. I think the lead actress race is a little less even in terms of all 5, every nominee having an equal chance to win, but it's still like such a packed category. I could see any of those women winning. But
I'm surprised by the Reese Witherspoon nomination.
oh, sorry, I
that
couldn't
was a
say. Sorry, I
shocker.
didn't mean to say I could see any of them winning. Sorry, no
No,
offense.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's
But like
it's
they're
less-
good. They're good lineups. Yeah.
Good
Reese
lineup,
Witherspoon was surprised.
Yeah. Given that there's no Aniston, there was no Juliana Margulies, yet she made it in, and good on her. I think lead actress is less competitive. To me, Zendaya has already won. But the lead actor in a drama series, wow, what a killer category. Charlie, what do you think?
I know your feelings about Zendaya, but I'd still be wary of Laura Linney, because she's Laura Linney, and she has the best line delivery of the year, again, for a line that I will not quote here. Yeah, I think this is really a top-notch line, especially actor. Like, holy crap, that category I can't even begin to think about who might be out front to win. You know, it's so
yeah.
That is like the gold standard of this year's nominations.
Yeah, do you agree, Tony? I think it's between Adam Scott and Lee Jung Jae, but we're not doing winners. But Tony, like, what do you think of these 2 lineups? They're pretty good.
I think you're absolutely right. I don't even want to even talk about actor because it gives me agita. But where I will completely agree with you is I think drama actress is the one that is the lock. I think Zendaya is winning this. The fact that Laura Linney didn't win the last time with the Fire Pink episode, which was a showcase for her, and then Zendaya beat her. Euphoria goes up. It's in drama series now, and she had, in my opinion, just one of those episodes that everyone was talking about, that every single person was like, the Rue intervention. I'm like, okay, that's done.
We're done here.
We're done here. I was upset that Bert Lauer didn't get in, but I think that's a momentary thing. We know that there's going to be at least 2 slots open because 2 of these people aren't going to be returning next year into this category. But yeah, I think they're both fantastic. I love Melanie Linsky in Yellow Jackets. That performance is so astounding.
She's so good.
I hear what you're saying about Laura Linney, Tony, but we've heard before things like, Tatiana Maslany couldn't win the year before for that episode, then she can't win this year, and don't they sometimes surprise us and we sort of count people out because of underperformance earlier, or
I think it's between Linney and Zendaya, but I think if Euphoria hadn't performed as well as it did today, I think the race was closer.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. We should move on. Let's talk about each supporting category separately because there's just so much to unpack. In the supporting actor in a drama series, Nicholas Braun, Billy Crudup, Kieran Culkin, Park Hae-soo, Matthew McFadden, John Turturro, Christopher Walken, Oh Young-soo. I am on cloud 9. I just cannot. I mean, there are people who missed out here that I'm very disappointed about. For example, I don't know, like Steve Carell. I thought he was so phenomenal in The Morning Show season 2, and he missed out. Eric Dane, we've talked about. The Yellowstone guys.
Alan Ruck in Succession.
Alan Ruck always seems to miss out. Owen Wilson in Loki. The guys from Outer Range, like Asif Manvi in Evil. But that group, I'm so happy for Park Hae-soo. I really was hoping and praying that he would make it in alongside Oh Young-soo, and he did. Sang-woo is there, and I mean, it would have been great to see Anupam Tripathi as well, but to see Park Hae-soo there is so exciting. And then, of course, the Succession guys, and then you've got the Lovebirds, John Turturro and Christopher Walken. Oh, what an amazing category! It makes me so happy.
I am so happy that they both made it in.
Yes,
because I was thinking that Turturro would get in and Walken would miss out, but
that's what I had too. I did not have Walken.
But in the back of my head, I was thinking to myself, it feels like such a twofer. It feels like, how can you nominate one and not the other? And I'm glad that they had that same collective mindset, that enough people checked off both their names.
I think it helped that I think Turturro had the stronger performance, but Walken has the bigger name recognition. So I think that also helps, helped each other out a bit too. I added Walken last night, so I my last minute changes largely paid off. I just, when in doubt, I went, you know what, I'm going to go through and I'm going to add people from Ted Lasso, I'm going to add people from Severance, and I'm going to add people from Succession. That was sort of my rule, and it
next time I'm just going to copy yours, and that will be it, because I did very badly. Tony, what about you? What did you think?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I didn't get everybody in this category because I had Eric Dane. I also had Jonathan Banks. But I could not be happier for the people that are in here. I would have loved to see, like Jamie Campbell Bower from Stranger Things get in here.
Let's talk about Stranger Things, actually.
Yeah, I actually do want to talk about Stranger Things because in many ways, it got a whole ton of nominations. No writing, no directing. It is the biggest show right now.
No acting, right? Nothing.
And
not
no
even
acting.
David Harbour.
Not David Harbour, not Millie Bobby Brown, not Sadie Sink. It's insane. It's insane. I mean, I thought that I really thought
not even
that,
directing. Are you
not even directing? No,
not
no
even
directing.
For that, not even for what's his name?
Not for Dear Billy.
Wow.
Or The Massacre at Hawkins Lab.
That's really surprising, because I thought, season 4 was just astoundingly good.
I actually, for a while, I was actually thinking that the thing that could really upset Succession was Stranger Things, because it has just become a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Back to the buzz that it had when it first premiered.
Yeah.
Well, I know. I'm saving the best to last though, because let me just read out these names, okay? And you'll see how happy. Patricia Arquette, Julia Garner, Jung Ho-yeon, Christina Ricci, Rhea Seehorn, J. Smith Cameron, Sarah Snook, and Sydney Sweeney. Oh my effing God. That is my favorite category of the night.
Yes. And I'm mad at myself because I had Christina Ricci until last night. She's the only one I didn't have on here. Because I had put Yo Jung-yoon for Pachinko in there.
And that was, I was going to say, that's the only one that really disappointed me, because if you've seen Pachinko, it's not a name check. She's an Oscar winner. She is heartbreaking in that show and should have been nominated. I'm very sorry she wasn't. There's a lot of Sadie Sink we've mentioned. Susan Kelechi Watson in This Is Us. Come on, my God, she's incredible. And of course, like other people, there's so many people that have missed out. But that group, what? Rhea Seehorn finally. Matt, how do we explain her finally making it through? I don't know.
I said it the other day. I think it's not having The Crown and not having The Handmaid's Tale, which are two shows that just sucked up a lot of actress slots for whatever reason. Because great performances in both of those shows. I think Rhea Seehorn deserved to get in over some of those contenders in the past. So, I think she was hard done by, but I think there was a lot of checking all the women in those shows when people got to them on the ballot. Sorry, also the actors, like The Crown and Handmaid's Tale also did very well on the male side of things as well. So, but they're just, I guess they were two shows that the actors loved that had a lot of female supporting actresses. So the fact that they weren't in the race is helpful. I think Ray Seahorn should be pleased that Succession, and some of the other contenders could be pleased Succession doesn't have like 3 other strong supporting actresses, because I think otherwise
Succession male, so this happens again.
Yeah. She's been great for so long. Obviously, Better Call Saul didn't do any weaker this year with the Emmys. Bob Odenkirk's back in. I think on Metacritic, Better Call Saul might be the best reviewed of all the drama series.
Possible.
Have the highest score. So, like, they're knocking it out of the park in the final season. I would say Ray probably doesn't have maybe the episode she's had in the past, but a performance over the course of the whole season is just as good as it's ever been. If not better, because she's building on the like what she's done in the past. So, and with episodes mattering less now, that probably won't get in her way. So I think that's how she got in. I think there was just more room this year for shows that weren't like, this isn't a category, and this is probably why you love it so much, Rob. It's not dominated by one particular show. There's 2 Succession actresses, but it's
in this category the best.
It's just wonderful. Charlie,
Patricia Arquette. Oh my god.
Like,
good luck picking a winner here.
Good luck picking a winner there.
Julia Garner's probably out in front because she's won before, and she is incredible in that final
season.
Final season.
I think Jung Ho Yeon is because she won the SAG, and she,
again, could make a case for Sarah Snook if there's a lot of Succession love. I know we're not talking about winners
Sydney
now,
Sweeney, they love her.
And Ray Seahorn, she's broken through this year. Can she win? Patricia Arquette, like Severance, if that show does really well, there's. You can
Charlie, what did you think of the category? What did you love, and what were you disappointed at all?
No, I wasn't. I was slightly disappointed about Sadie Sink not making it in, but I still think that this is just, again, top notch. And I know we don't like to talk. I like to talk about the predictions, but I couldn't bring myself to predict Rhea Seehorn. I think it was after, I can't remember after what year it was, after two times in a row of predicting her, and of her, like you said, Matt, having the material where we thought if she gets in, she's winning.
I think it started with season 4. And
after, I think it was season 3, maybe was the first season. I think it was season 3, then 4. And after that, I was like, I cannot in good conscience predict this. As much as I adore her and her performance is incredible, I couldn't do it. And I am so happy to see her in there. I was, because I remember when I was looking at the website and I clicked for drama supporting actress, and you see all the headshots of people, the first one I recognized was Rhea Seehorn, and I was like, wow, it finally happened.
She must be so thrilled. And she's got another nomination as well, in the short form.
I like to think that it was public shaming that got the actors to finally get her.
I've never listened to it before, but maybe they're finally coming around.
Public shaming, doesn't hurt.
I think
she's always been very appreciative of Gold Derby for the support, and she's always been very accommodating of us with interviews and things like that. So it's really nice to see.
She's a trooper. She's wonderful. That was a really good chat, guys. There's so much to talk about. I wish that they had the tape system. Maybe one day we could have a chat about who we would think would win under a tape system versus who we will think will win under the popular vote, the plurality vote. And we'll also do a chat soon on the writing and directing categories. We'll go do a real deep dive into those. And then, of course, we'll have at least 2 more chats coming up, everybody. But in the meantime, stick with Gold Derby. We've got plenty of content, plenty of chats, discussions, articles, and of course, we'll be ramping up our interviews with Emmy contenders very shortly. That's always a highlight at Gold Derby. And of course, make sure you make your predictions at the Prediction Center. They are now open for the creative arts and the primetime regular Emmys, whatever you want to call them. We'll be back soon. Thanks again to Matt, Tony, and Charlie for joining me, and we'll see you all very soon.